Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so Utah Jazz, Dallas Mavericks. Utah ties the series at 2-2, and Utah put up a good fight tonight to get this victory. You got to give credit to their entire team as a whole. They brought the type of intensity that they had been missing from this matchup on their end. Luka Doncic returned, had 30 big points, but unfortunately his team wasn't able to get it done. And it's a weird situation where I was listening to the announcer say, Luka Doncic played in this game, and people were talking about how he shouldn't play in Game 4, but they needed every one of those points tonight. Yes and no. Here's why I say what I say. Luka Doncic put up his numbers, and he did what he did. Team lost, not directly correlated necessarily. Donovan Mitchell put up a good game. Rudy Gobert played well. Bogey hit some big shots. Clarkson was awesome off the bench. A lot of things went right for the Utah Jazz. They got some good contributions from people like Hassan Whiteside and Juancho Hernangomez. Did I say his name right? It might have been his other brother. But Hernangomez, nevertheless, they played well. I think it's Juancho. They played well, bottom line, and they deserve to win the basketball game. That's the bottom line. They didn't shoot the ball incredibly well, but they were able to overcome the Dallas Mavericks. Now, the reason why I think they were able to do that is because the Dallas Mavericks brought Luka Doncic back and then focused everything on him. When you have something that's working, and I truly believe this, basketball is a game of matchups. And just because a guy is a superstar and you've poured everything into him and he can go out there and put up big numbers, and Luka Doncic is awesome, that doesn't necessarily mean that him being brought into this series is good for the Mavericks. And the reason why is because he has to be reincorporated. He's not 100%. And the things that you did have going on in his absence just so happened to be the right combination of things that worked against the Utah Jazz. It's working. What ended up happening tonight was Spencer Dinwiddie was basically removed from the game. Dinwiddie had been playing very well throughout this series for the most part. Obviously, Jalen Brunson was getting his regardless because he's usually able to eat with Luka Doncic on the floor. But Dinwiddie did nothing tonight. He missed the game-winning shot. He shouldn't even been taking that shot since he'd been cold all night. I don't know what they were running, but to me, it just seemed like, look, you bringing Luka Doncic back, I get it. It's the playoffs. He's the big star. All of that. It's obviously it makes a lot of sense. You want to get him back in the series so you can have his rhythm. Let's say he doesn't play in this game and you lose. Now you're trying to work him back into his rhythm in a Game 5 situation. So I see the fruit in getting him out there sooner than later. But my thing is always going to be, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. He hasn't been a part of this series, and the Utah has had no answer for the Dallas Mavericks because of what they've been able to accomplish. Bringing him back just turns you into an entirely different team, and that team may not match up as well against the Jazz as the team without Luka did, and here you are. I don't know if that's necessarily correlated or not, but here we are. Series tied. Utah was a struggling team, but Dallas should be up 3-1. Period. They should be up 3-1. And there's a lot of things that contributed to why they're not. But bottom line is they're headed back home, and they're going to have to hold down home court against a Utah Jazz team that has the momentum, that has now found something in their centers. All of their bigs played well tonight. The problem that I have with Utah right now is just still the three-point shooting. They still have these issues. 2 for 10 for Donovan Mitchell. I mean, I like that he's attempting threes because that's what we were talking about. This team needs to shoot more threes. That's who they are. That's what they're about. But 2 for 10 from your star, you're lucky to get the victory tonight. You're lucky to get the victory there. Like I said, Jordan Clarkson was huge off the bench. They definitely needed everything that he did. You just appreciate that Utah fed off of the energy of their crowd. That's what I can honestly say. The crowd gave them more than enough to work with, and they were able to keep them going. The crowd was very much ignited off of plays that were made by Rudy Gobert, lobs and dunks and things of that nature. Rudy was able to really impose his will, and I think that had a great deal to do with it. You know, when he rebounds upwards of 15, I think he had 14 or 15 rebounds, somewhere in that range. When he's rebounding like that, the Jazz are hard to beat. So this is the Jazz that I thought would approach this series. These are the Mavericks that I thought would be going into this series, and because of it, I picked the Jazz in 6. Now that we're at 2-2, you know, my pick is starting to look pretty decent, I guess. I mean, it's a new series at this point, best out of 3. Who wants it? And judging from how things are going, neither one of these teams are really, knocking my socks off. Obviously, Jalen Brunson has been a star in these playoffs. That goes without saying. He might be the best player on the floor for both teams. And his continued consistency with or without Luka Doncic is something that needs to be noted going forward. I like what I saw from Dorian and Finney-Smith tonight. Maxi Kleber had some issues staying on the floor, foul trouble. He had like 5 fouls in like the third quarter, so he wasn't as much of a factor. And I think that's what hurt them, is ultimately the Dallas Mavericks just were not able to get the same type of production from the three-point arc as they were in the last game. You know, we talked greatly about Kleber and Bertans really lighting the Jazz up in Game 3. That did not carry over into Game 4, and I just know for a fact that the Dallas Mavericks are a much better team when that three-point ball is falling for them, just like the Jazz. So now going back home for the Dallas Mavericks back home to Dallas, and a 2-2 situation, you feel pretty good. You feel very good, given the fact you got your Luka Doncic back. You feel really confident that going forward, there shouldn't be any more setbacks now that he's played a full game and it looked pretty good. Hit the floor a little bit, tested out that leg, and he seemed to be reacting very well. So for the sake of him getting back in rhythm, I say mission accomplished. Getting the victory, not so much. Should have kept the same team out there. My thing was always make the Utah Jazz prove they can beat the people you have in front of them before they bless them with the presence of Luka the Don. Because you bringing in Luka Doncic, he's going to score, he's going to rebound, he's going to shoot, but he's also going to bring down your efficiency a great deal because he takes a lot of shots that he doesn't make. And he also does tend to turn the ball over here and there. So it's just a different dynamic. Now you don't have the balance of those two attacking guards to kind of stretch the floor and keep your ball movement popping a little more. Luka Doncic, he's a fantastic passer, and ball movement can be something that is very good with him in the lineup, obviously. But it's a different dynamic. Now Dinwiddie's rendered to a different role, and that role he can't really work from within, or at least not against this team tonight. So yeah, we can look at him and say, yo, you need to play better, Spencer. But I also think the Coach Kidd should have brought Luka in a little more gracefully. I think he would have won the game, and I think ultimately it would have been something that they kind of could have did without really having so much trouble. You just want to throw Luka back out there. He's Luka, but I think when you get caught up in that, you lose sight of what strategy really will work for you. You know what I mean? And then, like I said, Golden State, Miami, they're showing us the type of sacrifices you need to make to strategize properly against the matchups you're in. Sometimes you might have to sit a Hall of Famer. These two teams, Dallas, have been reluctant to make those decisions. And respectively, I say Utah, because I felt like they should have set Rudy a few times in this series. And now Dallas, as I feel Luka Doncic ultimately, he did all the things that he did, but it took everything away from the guys who were killing the Jazz for the last 3 games. So that's what I saw out there, 100-99. That they should have had more scoring on the board, so on and so forth. So that's pretty much all I got to say about that game. I didn't really get into too much detail of that game because this is the least interested I am in regards to all the series. I'm not much into the Utah-Dallas series. Honestly, I'm glad Luka's back for the star power, but I just don't really like the Utah Jazz and the way they're constructed. You guys know that already. But tonight, they showed you that they could still compete. Defensively, they played better. I think that's most important to mention as well. Utah had some fantastic sequences where they got some big stops. And you saw really weird ebbs and flows in terms of big leads blown and stuff like that, sort of like the Timberwolves and the Timberwolves and the Memphis Grizzlies, but not to that degree. But you will see a 39-point quarter from one team, a 30-point quarter from another team in this same game. So no real consistency amongst the two teams. Very close game throughout. Good game to watch for sure. And I just love the energy that the Utah brought to the table today. It was definitely a big bounce back in the contrast from what we saw in that game 3. Um, Donovan Mitchell said, he kept his poise. I listened to him in the presser of game 3. He was essentially saying, we're not going to get too high, too low. More or less, it's like we at the end of the day, we just need to go back, see what we learned, see what we did, and learn from it, and just approach game 4 with a different attitude. We saw what we did wrong. Let's do it differently. And that wasn't how I felt about the Utah Jazz watching them. But when you have that type of poise coming from the leader, um, chances are it's going to translate to the team responding well. Um, and like I said, with several other series, at this point, it's about how much you believe in what it is you're doing. Because even if it doesn't necessarily work, your effort should still translate to you winning 50-50 ball matchups, getting rebounds, and ultimately just taking quality possessions, running quality possessions. And even if your team isn't good, even if your system doesn't work, if you run your stuff with the fundamentals in mind and you shoot well, do all the stuff that you need to do to take care of the basketball, you will give yourself a chance to be a part of any basketball game you're in. Because the other team is not going to play perfect. They're going to make mistakes. Maybe they get in foul trouble, et cetera, et cetera. Good fundamental basketball and paying attention to details will always give you a chance. So we saw that with the Utah Jazz tonight for the most part, and they were the winners. So that's what I want to say. I think you would love to have that playback that Dallas had on the end with like I said, Spencer Dinwiddie hadn't been hot all night. He made 5 points on the game, and he's the last guy taking the shot. Nah, Coach Kidd, that's not how you want to do it. So yeah, man, Utah is back in this series. I picked them in 6. We'll see what happens. BDL 44. Thank you all for watching. I'm out.